So, let's dive into the topic of the day. The design flaws of the 1978 Battlestar Galactica Colonial Viper toy. This popular toy from the late 70s was based on the Colonial Viper spacecraft from the Battlestar Galactica TV series. It was an exciting and sought-after toy for many children, but it had a dark side due to its dangerous design. The Colonial Viper toy featured small, missile-like projectiles that could be launched with a simple press of a button. While these projectiles added a fun, interactive element to the toy, they also posed a serious choking hazard for young children. The missiles were small enough to be easily swallowed, and their aerodynamic design made them even more dangerous when accidentally ingested. It's important to note that the design flaws of the Colonial Viper toy were not immediately apparent. In fact, the dangers associated with the toy went unnoticed or unaddressed during its development and production. This oversight would ultimately lead to significant consequences, as we'll discuss further in the next section. Now that we've discussed the design flaws of the 1978 Battlestar Galactica Colonial Viper toy, let's delve deeper into the choking hazards associated with its projectiles and how these dangers managed to slip through the cracks during development and production. The small, missile-like projectiles were the primary source of the choking hazard. As we mentioned before, they were easily launched with the press of a button and could be inadvertently swallowed by children. Due to their small size and aerodynamic shape, these projectiles could easily become lodged in a child's throat, making it difficult to dislodge and potentially leading to tragic consequences. What's alarming about this situation is that the choking hazards associated with the toy's projectiles went unnoticed or unaddressed during its development and production. It's unclear how such a glaring safety issue managed to evade detection, but it's possible that a combination of factors, such as lack of proper testing or oversight, contributed to the oversight. The fact that the dangers of the Colonial Viper toy were not recognized until after it was released to the public highlights a glaring problem in the toy industry at the time. This would eventually lead to significant changes in regulations and safety standards, as we will discuss in the upcoming sections. Moving on to a truly heartbreaking aspect of the Colonial Viper toy story, let's discuss the tragic fatality involving a young child who choked to death on one of the toy's projectiles. This devastating event served as a wake-up call for many and sparked widespread concern and outrage. In 1978, a 4-year-old child was playing with the Colonial Viper toy when he accidentally launched one of the small projectiles into his mouth. Tragically, the missile became lodged in his throat, cutting off his air supply, and despite his family's desperate attempts to save him, the young boy passed away. This heart-wrenching incident was a turning point for the toy industry and the public's perception of toy safety. People were understandably furious that a popular children's toy could have such a deadly design flaw. The tragedy highlighted the urgent need for better safety regulations and prompted a closer examination of the risks associated with similar toys on the market. The public's response to this tragic fatality was a catalyst for change, leading to a significant shift in the way toys were designed, manufactured, and regulated. A shift that would ultimately save countless. Now that we've covered the tragic fatality associated with the Colonial Viper toy, let's examine the regulatory changes and toy safety standards that were implemented in response to this tragedy. These new measures aimed to prevent similar incidents from occurring in the future and to ensure the safety of children while playing with toys. Following the Colonial Viper incident, there was a significant push for stricter regulations and guidelines in the toy industry. One major development was the establishment of the Consumer Product Safety Commission, CPSC, in the United States. The CPSC serves as a regulatory agency responsible for ensuring the safety of consumer products, including toys. Its mission is to protect the public from unreasonable risks of injury or death associated with consumer products. In addition to the creation of the CPSC, toy manufacturers were faced with new, stricter guidelines aimed at minimizing choking hazards and other potential dangers. These guidelines required toy manufacturers to conduct thorough testing and analysis of their products to ensure they met specific safety standards. For instance, toys intended for young children could no longer contain small parts that could easily be swallowed or inhaled, and projectile toys had to be designed in such a way that they would not pose a choking hazard. These new regulations and guidelines had a significant impact on the toy industry, leading to a greater emphasis on safety and consumer protection. It also marked the beginning of a new era in which toy manufacturers were held more accountable for the products they brought to the market. As we reach the final part of our discussion on the Colonial Viper tragedy, let's explore the lasting impact this event had on the toy industry. The heartbreaking incident not only led to regulatory changes in the establishment of the CPSC, but also had a profound effect on the way toys are designed, produced, and marketed. One immediate outcome of the tragedy was the eventual ban of the Colonial Viper toy. The dangers associated with the toy's projectiles could no longer be ignored, and the manufacturer decided to discontinue its production in light of the public outcry and the tragic fatality. This ban demonstrated that the safety of children had become a priority over the commercial success of a toy. The Colonial Viper tragedy also served as a stark reminder to the toy industry of the importance of child safety in toy design and production. Manufacturers began to place a greater emphasis on thoroughly testing their products for potential hazards, and many companies made conscious efforts to create toys that were both fun and safe for children to play with. In the years that followed, the toy industry saw a shift toward safer products and designs, and the tragic event served as a cautionary tale for manufacturers. The ongoing emphasis on child safety in toy design and production can be seen today, with many modern toys undergoing rigorous testing and adhering to strict safety standards before reaching store shelves. In conclusion, the Colonial Viper tragedy had a significant and lasting impact on the toy industry, shaping the way toys are designed, produced, and regulated. While the incident was undeniably tragic, it highlighted the importance of prioritizing child safety and ultimately led to a safer environment for children to play and explore.